Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live on YouTube today for episode 196. The second preseason game is upon us. The Tennessee Titans have come to town, and after a week of joint practices with Tampa Bay, they will face off under the lights of Raymond James Stadium Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. You can watch that on WFLA with Chris Myers and Rondé Barber in the booth. We just had Chris Myers on earlier this week to get his thoughts on the 2021 Buccaneers. It is a great interview if you want to go check that one out. But welcome back to the show. I am your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. How you doing today, my friend? Happy Friday.
Hello. Happy Friday. It's hard to believe we're almost at 200 of these things.
Right?
That's kind of crazy. I didn't really realize that we were that close. Zach Jarvis asked, the big 200 is almost here. Gonna have a special edition for it. We'll do something. We haven't really figured it out yet. I mean, I didn't even realize we were that close to 200, so I definitely haven't thought about anything. So we'll be doing something. But happy to be back. It's a great interview with Chris Myers. Go check that out. And you guys didn't vlog yesterday. No, because they're not at camp yesterday. Just at camp on Wednesday. Yeah. So did not catch any of the UFC fights.
Yeah, right. What a day to get to practice and not be able to see very much. So we'll talk to you guys and get you caught up on how the joint practices with Tennessee went this week, some of the highs and the lows. And of course, we'll be taking a look at the game. Now, as far as preseason game 2 goes, these preseason games are already kind of hard enough to, do a full-on game preview of. It's a little more lax than it usually is because you've got so many different groups of players. It's not like you have these expectations from your starters for 4 quarters, but going into this Saturday's game, there are no expectations for the starters because, we kind of let off our last show saying that Bruce Arians had mentioned that the starters probably won't play, but it has been all but confirmed by Big Bruce himself that you're not going to see any starters, and Blaine Gabbert is your QB1 for Saturday night. So we'll talk about that as time comes. But training camp this week. I was excited about joint practices. You always do, right? It's the best part of training camp. I think for a lot of NFL teams, it's a chance to just see how you match up with another team. Getting out there and getting physical with people that isn't your teammates is always going to be a little bit different. But day 1 of joint practices with the Titans, the Bucs didn't look ready to be out there. And it's kind of crazy because I think it's a tale of 2 practices here. We'll get to day 2 shortly enough. But day 1, it was a hot start for Tampa Bay. The one-on-one sections, the receivers were having their way with Tennessee. I mean, one-on-ones, based off of that short segment of practice, you thought it was going to be a long-ass day for Tennessee. And then after that, once we saw them line up in 7-on-7s and 11-on-11, they really weren't able to do much of anything. There were a lot of drops from guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, O.J. Howard. Some of the running backs had drops. Brady didn't even look his best. Threw a couple of picks. Tennessee showed up ready to practice against the Super Bowl champs. And I don't know if the Bucs were entirely ready. Maybe that first day of practice was just a wake-up call that they needed, that, these guys know that this season isn't going to be a walk in the park. But when you get back to live, fully padded action, sometimes certain people get up to speed faster than everybody else. And it certainly seemed like Tennessee showed up more ready for practice than Tampa on that first day.
Yeah, it was really sloppy. So one-on-ones happen, and the Bucs are just the Bucs are just dominating the one-on-one sessions, but they're not catching the football. And that's, I think, the most frustrating part. It wasn't like the Titans were really doing anything special. It was just that the Bucs were literally hurting themselves. They really just they couldn't get out of their own way on Wednesday. And I mean, didn't matter who it was. Mike Evans, like you said, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, all three of the main running backs. Giovanni Bernard dropped a few passes.
Yeah.
Giovanni Bernard's one of the best pass-catching running backs in NFL history almost, and couldn't catch the football. Tom Brady wasn't as crisp, but it would look better if his receivers actually caught the ball.
And I'll be honest, it's a lot easier to write off a bad day for Tom Brady at practice because that's what practice is for. You have good days and you have bad days. So for a guy like Tom to go out there and have not his strongest day, it doesn't worry me nearly as much as it does some of these younger guys, some of the rookies, maybe some guys on the bubble that we're going to be talking about here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and I think you're not going to have a perfect practice every day, but what you really want is you would rather your opponent just be better than you on that day than you not be able to catch the football. You're a professional football player. You're a professional wide receiver, tight end. Your job is to catch the ball. That's the most simplest part of your job. just catch the ball, and you couldn't do it. So that's an issue. That is an issue. However, seemed like they got the message because I'll tell you what, on Thursday, they went out and they kicked the Titans' ass.
Yeah.
They on the football field and in the ring, they kicked the Titans' asses.
I wanted to say one more thing regarding day one, and then we'll talk about all the fireworks from that second day. I honestly thought Bruce would be more upset in his post-practice press conference after that first day because, he's been vocal about practices this year. If it was a shitty practice, he's going to let you know. But he was very, very vanilla in a lot of his answers. And I think maybe that effect is from having another team on your facility. If you're Bruce Arians or if you're any member of the organization, you don't exactly want to publicly admit that the Titans got the best of them that day. So maybe he was just tiptoeing around that and didn't want to seem as upset as he actually was. But I'm surprised we didn't get, more F-bombs from Bruce because that day one practice, like you said, they just were not ready to be out there. But day two, man.
Real quick on that,
yeah.
I just wanted to put in a quick note. I think he didn't really see much because he knows how simple it is. Just catch the football. That's what he said. He said just catch the ball.
Yeah.
I think that's why you didn't see him as frustrated. It wasn't that they were getting outworked. They were dominating the Titans on both days. They dominated them. Both days they did.
The first day they were just a little lazy about it.
One day they couldn't catch a cold, and then the next day they were on fire.
Next day they were catching hands.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's the truth. Both days the Bucs dominated the Titans. One day they couldn't catch anything. The next day they were catching everything, including some faces.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been hinting at this, so now I guess we got to get to the Thursday practice, which is one of the, I think, one of the most fun practices I've ever seen to cover.
I don't even think you have to watch SummerSlam on Saturday night. I think the Bucs covered it for you.
I think you got it. There was punches, there were suplexes, there was, there was everything. Quick.
It was just Jarvis, Devin White and Levante short of busting out the tables and putting
right, and then just Dudley boys, just 3D.
Exactly, man.
Zach Jarvis asked real quick, was Julio Jones practicing? See, this is the tough thing when trying to gauge we'll talk about it a little bit, but when trying to gauge the Bucs defense against the Titans offense, it's tough. The Titans were missing 2 offensive line starters. Julio Jones did not practice once.
He didn't even travel out there.
A.J. Brown did not practice once, and Derrick Henry did not practice once. So all of those guys were not there. But still, that didn't mean there wasn't any fireworks.
Henry was there.
He was there, but he was not practicing.
Yeah, it just wasn't a very intensive practice. When it was 11-on-11, he wasn't out there.
Yeah, he did not practice. Nope.
Yeah. But yeah, man, day 2 of joint practice was nothing short of a WWE pay-per-view. 5 total fights, like you had mentioned. Devin White was the one getting the suplex in one of those scuffles. And Antonio Brown has made national headlines. I'm sure that's something you're no stranger to hearing. But Antonio Brown back in national news with a clean left hand to Tennessee cornerback Chris Jackson. Those two guys got at it, and AB was able to rip his helmet off and get a clean punch, which is awesome. I'm actually kind of happy that AB is not the kind of guy who's punching helmets, because I think after so many years in the league, you have to know better. But he gets a clean punch, and he is all over the news outlets. Like, if you hadn't heard anything about this Bucs practice, the only thing you've probably heard is about Antonio Brown getting into a fight. Now, AB was put out of practice, but he was literally back out there 10 minutes later. He wasn't held out very long. It didn't stall practice. And Mike Vrabel and Bruce Arians, weren't exactly too upset by the fighting. Like, it's football, man. It's hot and humid out there. These guys are pissed. Florida, Tampa has that type of humidity and heat that even at 9 in the morning, you're just pissed off for no reason, and you don't really know why. But the real reason is because of the heat out here. So when guys get chippy, which is what we expected, we talked about the Titans coming to town, and I was excited because this is what you get in those joint practices. That competitive nature comes back, and you realize that you don't exactly have to see these guys in the locker room at the end of practice. This is another team, so things are going to get escalated. Things are going to get chippy. I do have a little rant that I want to go off on here regarding Antonio Brown. I'm not mad at Antonio Brown. He has not been given any circumstances from the team. Like, he hasn't been in trouble. Nobody's grilled him. Maybe they talked to him after practice. I don't know, dude. I'm not that in tap. But, like, I'm not upset about it. And I don't think a lot of other people are. But unfortunately, I like to call him number one bullshit Mike on Twitter. He made this great point to me. When you have a bullseye on your back like Antonio Brown does, and a story like this happens, the news outlets are going to grab it and they're going to go nuts. And that's exactly what we have seen. I mean, Barstool Sports, Sports Illustrated, they're putting out stories that lead you to believe that Antonio Brown was the only Buccaneer who got in a fight and was the only guy who had to leave practice. And a lot of them are leaving out this important context that, one, it didn't derail the fucking practice, and two, he was back out there in 10 minutes. And a lot of it, we know that sports media and just media in general is generated by clicks. Whatever is going to get you clicks. But when you're telling a story like this with a polarizing picture such as Antonio Brown involved, I think it's really important to make sure you get all of your context. And obviously, I'm a little biased because he is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. If this was a Raiders story from a year ago, it probably would have been a different conversation. But now that we have seen Antonio Brown come into this Tampa Bay organization and be a model citizen, it's not that he doesn't have the ability to do it. So when stuff like this happens, when competitive nature kicks in and Antonio Brown pulls out an old Andre Johnson move on you, I'm so tired of seeing the media lose their minds over this and try and paint this false narrative that, AB's causing trouble in practice and Bruce Arians is covering for him, because that's actually one of the headlines I saw today. And it just gets me so pissed off, man.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing reporting.
It's bad journalism.
I'm gonna be frank there. It is embarrassing. You're not, your job as a reporter, you're not doing your job. Your job is to report the whole story. When the headline is Antonio Brown kicked out of practice for throwing punch, that's not the whole story. Are you going to mention the other 4 fights? Are you going to mention the fact that he was back 10, 15 minutes later and literally finished the practice? Give me a break. Like, that is embarrassing. If you're a news outlet trying to put out a headline like that, shame on you.
And a lot of the, I use news with air quotes around it, but a lot of these outlets putting out stories like this are, the stuff you'd expect. It's Barstool Sports. I was a little taken back by Sports Illustrated putting out something like that. And obviously they've gone back and they've updated it since then because people called them out. But it just sucks, man. It's bad journalism. And I think it's the state of how, a lot of sports news is nowadays. Views come first. If you can make a storyline, if you can make something out of nothing, do that, because it's going to get you the views that you want. And it's just a shame because at the end of the day, I don't know if it falls under the category of yellow journalism, but it's just bad journalism. And
be better.
It sucks.
Just be better.
Be better. Yeah. It's like
it's simple.
You watched Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I did not.
No? Well, it was pretty good. The Captain America speech at the very end, spoilers, I guess, The speech at the very end is great, but basically the topic of it is like, we need to be better. And I think that goes without saying for a lot of sports media outlets. But of course, you guys know that you have plenty of trusted outlets around here. Greg Allman, Jenna Lane with ESPN, Pewter Report, the boys as always. That's where you want to go for your Bucs training camp news, because they're going to give it to you right down the middle, and they're going to give you the facts, and that's what's most important. But I just wanted to get that off of my chest, because it's what's really grinding my gears this week. Like, it just pissed me off so bad that it's you've seen it happen all the time with stuff that isn't sports related, but trying to make a story out of a non-story it's just the state of media these days, I guess.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, I get what they're trying to do. If it's any other player, is it made into this story? No
way.
It's not. And yes, some of it does fall. It's Antonio Brown's fault. He put himself in this situation to be a target like that. His past. Sure. We even talked about it on the show when they signed him, or when they were thinking about signing him, where people asked us if they were going to sign him. His past these types of things will happen, right? If something happens like that, it will get escalated. But there's too many outlets that are just not reporting the facts.
Yeah.
So like you said, those three names, some of the best in the business: Pewter Report, Greg Allman, Jenna Lane. I mean, even a guy like Rick Stroud, yep. Best in the business, honestly. So, it's just embarrassing. So, whatever. That was, it's the little rant there. I guess we have to teach people how to report news now. So, but anyways, back onto the actual football stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about. Football stuff.
Yet again, like I said, the Bucs kicked the Titans' asses. It wasn't even close. I mean, just dominant. Absolutely. Mike Evans, like they had the same day as they had on Wednesday, except not any drops.
Yeah.
It was the same day. Mike Evans was locked in. Probably the best practice Mike Evans has put out there this whole camp. Chris Godwin locked in, had a nice one-handed catch against Jackrabbit, Janoris Jenkins.
They have him on the roster as Jackrabbit Jenkins, by the way. Me and James were going through the rosters at training camp, and we're looking, and we're like, number 20, Jackrabbit Jenkins? Like, he's on the roster as Jackrabbit. And we looked it up, and I guess there's a story of how he got the name, but I'm not a Titans fan, and I'm definitely not a Janoris Jenkins fan, so I didn't really care to read it. I wish I could, be a better journalist there and give you the reason why they call him Jackrabbit, because I guess it's a relatively new thing. But yeah, he's on the roster as Jackrabbit Jenkins.
So dumb. Anyways, I mean, yeah, you're talking about just, like I said, domination from the offensive side of things. No matter who it was, it didn't matter who it was. Every Titan, like Caleb Farley, the rookie, for the rookie first round pick for Tennessee, boy, oh boy, has he learned a lesson over the last 2 days.
Yeah, right.
Man, oh man, they took him to school. I mean, no matter who it was, they were taking him to school. And, I saw a lot of people were like, oh, well, and it's completely true. The reason that they wanted to fight Antonio Brown was because Antonio Brown was dominating them the entire day.
And Antonio Brown has a reputation this year, especially. He gets a little vocal at camp, right?
Sure.
I mean, who doesn't? We talked
Football.
about when we talked about the taunting rule. It's human nature that when you best your opponent, you're going to get excited. And a guy like AB, he's been pretty vocal. So I'm sure there's some guys in Tennessee's roster who just want to kick his ass, but they'll catch a clean left hand just like Chris Jackson did.
Of course. That's a great shot by whoever was able to get that shot.
I believe it was Dean Walker the fourth. Okay. I think that was his first name. But yeah, that photo made its rounds, and a lot of people were upset that there wasn't a lot of credit given to that photographer. But I believe his name is Dean Walker the fourth. But yeah, awesome photo, man. Just in real time, you see the helmet come off, you see AB square up, maybe duck one, and then bam, just clean left right to the cheek. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that was very, very nice. That was
poetry in motion.
Good. I'm surprised you're able to get that clean of a shot,
Right.
So anyways, just the practice yesterday. Both teams ended the practice doing red zone. And mind you, like I said again, the Titans are without Julio Jones, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, and two of their starting offensive linemen. Okay, we have to note that because that's the facts.
And I got to tell you, that was probably the most enticing part of them coming to town, is because we said leading up to it, this isn't the same Titans team that the Bucs practice against in 2018 or 2019. They have all of these weapons, but it is a shame that those biggest weapons weren't out there.
Mm-hmm. So in the red zone, the Bucs dominated it again. The Bucs offense went 4 for 6 on red zone tries, and they were stopped at the 1 yard line, maybe even the half yard line. Keyshawn Vaughn was stopped, almost got in the end zone, so it would have been 5 for 6. Meanwhile, the Titans were 2 for 6, and they had 3 interceptions. So the Bucs defense forced 3 interceptions. I think Levante David had 1, Nate Brooks had 1, and I forget the other person that had another pick, but just a fantastic day. Really was. It was a fantastic day for the Bucs, and like I said, this was the same day they had on Wednesday. It's just they cut out the mental mistakes, they cut out the drops, and if they cut them out, there could be no stopping this team. I'm serious. Like, obviously there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, but if they're mentally there and they're locked in, I don't know how you're going to be able to stop them. I mean, the Tennessee Titans, they're a playoff team in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
They're a playoff team in my opinion. So it's not like this is some random, some random bad team that's coming into town. This is a good football team. And I know they were missing some guys, but the Bucs still dominate them. I don't believe they were missing many on the defense. So Zach Jarvis asked Ryan Tannehill was throwing. I believe Tannehill threw most of the red zone.
Mm-hmm. He was out there getting red zone work in the day one of the joint practice, the Wednesday practice. If you guys want to check it out, all the highlights from that day are on the latest training camp vlog that we did, and you can see Ryan Tannehill in that video out there throwing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was there, and it's nice to see, because you didn't want to stack bad practices with each other. You didn't want to come out and be flat again, right? Because I mean, you come out and you start dropping balls all over the place again. Then you're talking about a confidence issue maybe, and you want to avoid that at all costs, right?
Yeah, it's a mental game,
it really is.
Richard in the live chat says it reminds him of how bad they were against the Bears last year, and then the next week against the Packers, they dominated with no penalties. It is a mental game, and having another team in your house is going to help you kind of get the hang of that faster. Those preseason games are good, but even in the preseason game, your starters are not getting reps like they are at training camp against this other team. So when you can work through the process of not shooting yourself in the foot and being as close to perfect as you can be, I think it's just, it shows what the Bucs were able to do between day 1 and 2 of those joint practices. Day 1, day 2, they had the same day, but day 2, they just cleaned up the mistakes. They made sure that they were on their P's and Q's, and they looked like the football team that we all know they can be.
Mm-hmm. So Dan Roach, who also noted that this is his first time joining us live. So
what's going on, Danny? Glad you're here, man.
How's Winfield look? Haven't heard anything. Evan, hopefully you're at the link for the Birds game. So Winfield I think has looked fine. Like, it's just he hasn't made splashy plays, but that's okay.
He had a pick this week. I don't remember what receiver he was working on. I want to say it was Mike Evans, but don't quote me there. But he did have a couple of picks this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he just hasn't made the splashy plays that you've heard from guys like Ross Cockrell or Javon Hagan. You've heard most of the splashy stuff from those guys. Mike Edwards to an extent as well. You've heard most of the splashy stuff from those guys, but Winfield's doing his thing. He'll be fine. For your second part of the question, I don't think it's in the plans to be at the link for that game. I don't believe it. Now, the last time the Bucs were at the link, I was there. That's when the Bucs dominated them.
That was Jameis rookie year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That was 2015. Doug Martin ran all over him. That be actually quick. I want to ask you a little trivia question.
Okay, here we go.
Who was the Eagles' starting quarterback in that game?
Oh, son of a bitch. In that
now,
game,
I will give you a hint. 2015. So Carson Wentz was not on the team.
Yeah, Carson Wentz was not on the team. I'm gonna go with Nick Foles.
Mark Sanchez.
Really?
Yes, Mark Sanchez was the starting QB for the Eagles. He threw 2 picks, I think, or 3 picks. One was a pick 6 to Levante David.
Yeah, I do remember the Levante pick 6. I didn't know it was against Mark Sanchez, though, after all these years. I guess I just forgot that detail.
and a second Bucs connection. The Eagles actually scored first. They drove down the field and scored the first touchdown of the game. Mark Sanchez to what receiver who would also later on play for the Bucs?
Jackson.
Josh Huff.
Damn. Damn. Deshaun Jackson was on that 20, or was he in Washington by that point?
He was at Washington. Yep, he was at Washington.
Man.
Yep. So yeah, Josh Huff scored the touchdown.
Matt Donovan in the live chat also thought it was D-Jack. So I'm glad somebody else is sharing in the wrong answers for me.
Well, I mean, that would have been the obvious choice. A former Eagles receiver who played for the Bucs,
Sure.
So I don't believe there's any plans to go. If the opportunity comes up, maybe, but right now, I do not believe there's any plans. Just tickets are really expensive.
Yeah,
and I mean it's a primetime game, so like it's even more expensive because it's a primetime game. So I don't believe right now. Never say never. I'm not going to say never, but I don't believe that's in the plan. So we talked about the practice. We talked about that. We talked, a little bit of the chat. Let's get to the actual game because there's a game, and it's tough because the starters aren't playing. And I know TB12 Goatman had asked, or the defensive starters playing. No, it doesn't sound like any starters will be playing. Now, what's interesting to me, I want to get your opinion on this. The starters aren't playing, but will a guy like OJ Howard play? Is right. Bruce considering him a starter? A guy who might need some reps. Is he gonna play?
Now that you bring it up,
is Cameron Brate gonna see some snaps? He just returned. I don't know.
There's a guy on the defensive side of the ball I wanted to ask the same question about here in a second, but that is a great question. And I gotta think that OJ gets those reps, right? Like out of that tight end room, who needs them the most? OJ Howard is number 1 on that list.
Tanner Hudson might need him.
Right. Tanner Hudson's definitely going to need him. We'll talk about Tanner Hudson and Cody McElroy having a big day here shortly. But as far as OJ Howard goes, I wouldn't be shocked to see him trot out there with like Blaine Gabbert in the first group offense, right?
Yeah, I think he should.
I think he should too. Yeah. I don't know about Cam. Like, I know Cam has been dealing with that injury, and I know he's been here and there at practice, but Cam also played in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Cam got a full season's work last year, while OJ Howard is still recovering from an injury that ended his year in the first month of the season. So it's like, he definitely needs those reps a lot more. I would like to see OJ out there. I really would. I think those reps are very, very important. And just getting him back to game speed is really what's going to have him ready to go for week 1, which Zach Jarvis mentioned, by the way. Damn it, dude. We're literally like a little over 2 weeks away from the home opener, September 9th, Thursday night football against the Dallas Cowboys in Raymond James Stadium. Regular season football is almost here, folks. Oh my God. But yeah, let's talk about the second, third, and fourth, and fifth stringers going on this Saturday. I hope OJ is out there. I do. I will close it with that. I do hope he's out there.
Yeah. So who was the defensive player that you also wanted to have?
Well, we talked about it a few times, and in the first preseason game and the weeks leading up to it, cornerback Jamel Dean was out there with like the third stringers. Do you think Jamel Dean's going to get some playing time?
Maybe to start. I don't think you're going to see him much. Bruce, I don't know if I 100% believe it, but Bruce basically said, he missed some reps. We just, a lot of what the Bengals were doing in the beginning were a lot of 2 tight end stuff. Jamel Dean wasn't able to go out there, so he just wanted to keep him in. I don't know. Jamel Dean's not in any like danger of losing his roster spot. We're not saying that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there, maybe for a series or 2. I wouldn't expect him to be playing into the third quarter again.
Oh, definitely not.
But I'm maybe for a series or 2. I see that Matthew asked, are you guys going? And Rhett says, I will be there. So Rhett, the question I have, will we be getting a game day vlog?
I think so. I'd like to make, I'd like to make another one of those. They're always a lot of fun. They help me with my video editing chops. And, if the views are there, then of course. The The training camp vlogs did way better than the game day vlog, so I don't know how a game day vlog without Tom Brady's going to do.
I think it's because just like we talked about, we talked about off the air. Just kind of, people see the game. People watch the game.
You can watch a preseason game on TV.
You can't really, only certain people can, watch like training camp practices. So
right.
Unfortunately, James is in the chat.
Mr. Bucs Nation, what's up, buddy?
He's here. Do we think Dean plays? A quick answer. We just answered. I think he does, but I don't think he plays much. I think he's. Yeah. I think you'll see obviously guys like Nacho who'll play as far as defense goes. Kevin Minter will be out there. So you'll still see recognizable faces and names. It just won't be you won't see Vita Vea, you won't see Shaq Barrett, probably not see Pierre Paul. I think Joe Tryon will start. I think he'll probably play the first half or so, I would guess. It'll be interesting to see if a fellow rookie. I know we're jumping all across the board here, but Robert Hainsey, who returned to practice.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to play. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to play.
When we were out there on Wednesday, Hainsey was involved in practice, but there was a period towards the end where he was working one-on-one with either a trainer or an assistant coach, and he was kind of it looked like he was just running laps from one sideline to the other, but it also looked like he was nursing some uncomfortability. So, I mean, we'll see. But if he does play, I think it's a big step for him because that's another guy that just needs those reps. And one of those guys that we've had some higher expectations of over camp because he's been getting work all over the place. But his work at center looks pretty good. He gets a lot of first-team reps over the course of training camp. As far as Joe Tryon goes, I wanted to mention him very quickly. I'm sure you guys saw the new episode of In the Current. Did you see the referee full on admitted to messing up that call, the Joe Tryon sack call that we were bitching about last week?
Yeah, I mean, it was a close play. It was a close play. I think if the refs had a mulligan, they would just let him play. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think
just pisses me off, man. It's his first career sack and it's gone.
Well, kind of, because anything in a preseason doesn't count. But so. I don't know if he does that week one versus Dak Prescott, I'll be more happy. So don't throw the flag then, refs. How about that?
There we go, man. I think somebody else that a lot of fans are going to be excited to see this week. Hopefully we get a bigger sample size. And if it's a bigger sample size, we get some more star power around him. Kyle Trask. I don't know what to expect with Blaine Gabbert. I don't know if your second stringers are only going to play a series and then be done. I don't know if we get a full quarter of the gift of Gabbert.
I think since Tom Brady's not playing, I think you get probably a quarter of Gabbert.
Right. And then maybe a quarter of Ryan Griffin and then let Trask go the entire second half.
Plays before Griffin.
You think so?
I think Griffin I think that they want to get Trask with better players.
Yeah, I think they do too.
I think Griffin ends it, but I think Kyle Trask plays 1 or 2 quarters.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Just for Kyle to get out there, have some better talent around him, and actually make some of those connections. I love watching him sling it. The kid's got an arm, but I'd like to see him actually make one of those. He had Josh Pearson with the bad drop last
Tyler
week.
Johnson, he had Tyler Johnson wide open on the touchdown.
And he overthrew him.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I always talk about how he doesn't have the arm, and he overthrew him. Oh, of course he did.
Talking about the quarterback room, Mr. Bucs Nation brings up an interesting topic here in the chat.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. But let me get to the question. Yes. Do the Buccaneers re-sign Josh Rosen on the practice squad? Let's put it simply and run you through the theory. If you are a longtime listener to the show, were we the first podcast to put out an episode talking about Josh Rosen a month before they signed him? I'm pretty sure we were.
I think we were.
I think the Cannon Fire podcast is your number one destination for all things Josh Rosen Buccaneers oriented. But Josh Rosen spent some time on the practice squad for Tampa Bay. San Francisco picked him up during the season because if you have an opportunity to come into an NFL game during the regular season, that's what you do instead of sitting around on a practice squad. But we saw what happened over the draft. San Francisco had an absolutely stacked quarterback room, and they had to let some of those guys go. Josh Rosen was one of them. He goes unclaimed on waivers with the fate of Ryan Griffin pretty much written in stone at this point. Does Josh Rosen make his return to Tampa Bay to spend some time on the practice squad behind Tom Brady, huh? You still open? Door's still open for that, right, Evan?
For me, it is. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But listen, before anybody goes wild in the chat that's watching it live, or if you're watching it back, you're like, yeah, like, what are you talking about? We're joking. Like,
we're
the
joking,
Bucs
but like we're not joking, right?
We're joking, but I'm not joking. And James brought up one other player earlier that I'm 100% not joking about. I'll get to him in a second. But yeah, I heard, and I think Scott Reynolds had said this too. The Bucs weren't in love with LaRosen's like leadership ability.
Yeah,
and I mean, this dude's looking for his 5th team now. He was drafted in 2018, and you're looking for your 5th team. That's not good.
I remember when they were going through the draft questions. I think this was the week of the draft. Somebody had asked them, Josh, how many championships do you plan on winning? He's like, well, Tom Brady's got 6, so I'm going to say 7.
Well, now you got to get 8. So you missed out on a chance to have a ring. So I don't want to hear it, Josh.
That is true.
I don't want to hear it.
That is true. He would have a Super Bowl ring if he would have just stuck around on the practice squad, huh?
Yep. So a lot of people are asking, Dan Roach said you guys had a conversation about this. If Griff plays like the last time, they may axe him, and Trask ends up as the 3. I mean, I think that's the expectation anyway. Right. I don't think Ryan Griffin's going to make the roster. I think they're going to put him on the practice squad. But yeah, Kyle Trask will end up being on the active roster because they can't cut Kyle Trask. Like if they cut Kyle Trask or even put him on the practice squad, he's gone. Somebody's going to get him.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't expect Griffin back on the roster. I think Kyle Trask will be that 3rd guy. However, if Tom Brady goes down, and let's say I seriously think Ryan Griffin might get in the game before Kyle Trask does. Obviously, Blaine Gabbert's your backup, but I think Ryan Griffin would maybe see some action before Trask does. But we'll see. Now on to the next person that James suggested, which is another former Buccaneer who I am. This is not a bit. This is 100% serious.
Got to break kayfabe for this one.
The Bucs need to re-sign Noah Spence. It has to happen. The reunion has to happen. It seriously does. One of my favorite players needs to happen. Everybody's gonna be calling me an idiot now. Hey, the Bucs were the ones that screwed him up. He had 6.5 sacks, I think, his rookie season, or like 6 sacks or something. And then they told him to gain weight. And then that didn't work. So they told him to lose the weight, and they screw up his career. All right. So let him get with Tom Brady. Let him get on the TB12 method. He will be. Oh my God. We're going to be talking about not needing Shaq Barrett anymore because you're going to have Noah Spence and Joe Tryon on the same team. Are you kidding me?
There goes the rest of our live audience.
Well, I mean, hey.
Hey, while we're talking about the preseason game on Saturday, I wanted to get your thoughts on this tight end 4 battle. The storyline continues. It heated up after Saturday's game against the Bengals, and we are still here talking about it. Tanner Hudson needs to continue to show out, needs to continue to block people, and I think
anybody. Anybody.
I think Cody McElroy just needs to continue what he's been doing because he's having a good camp, and he's definitely made himself known in that tight end room. It's going to come down to one of those 2 guys, I truly believe. And I'm excited to see who is the quarterback when they are on the field. We know Tanner Hudson has that chemistry with Ryan Griffin, but I'd like to see Tanner Hudson and Cody McElroy catching passes from Kyle Trask, right?
Well, you saw that a little bit.
A little bit. I
mean, Cody McElroy caught the 2-point conversion.
He got the 2 point, and Tanner Hudson had that high ball, which was a first down. No, you are right. But I'd like to see more of that, right?
Trask only had 4 completions. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And 2 of those were to those tight ends I just mentioned. But I'd like to see more of that.
I'm not sure if the 2-point conversion counts.
I don't think it does.
That doesn't count as a completion. So technically, I mean, he definitely had 5, but hey, we'll count it as 4 because that's what the box score says. But you're right. I mean, just if you watch in the current, folks, they talk about Joe Tryon. And I started laughing. They talk about Joe Tryon, and then they show a practice clip of Joe Tryon blowing past the tight end, and the tight end's Tanner Hudson. I was like, that explains a lot. Like literally, Joe Tryon made it look effortless, and I was like, wow. I was like, okay, that's what Bruce means by block somebody. He's just, they know what he can do as a receiver. The Bucs have seen time and time again, every single preseason and training camp, what this guy can do as a receiver. They know that.
We saw it. We saw it on display preseason week 1. He had a catch, made a shake, and then got, I think, 5-10 more yards downfield. So as a receiver, I wouldn't say he's one of the best in the tight end room, because that's a stacked tight end room.
Yeah.
But he is a guy who can make some stuff happen once you have the football in his hands. He is an exciting player to watch, especially in the preseason. And like, I'm a Tanner Hudson fan, man. Like I really am, and I'm really pulling for him this year.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Bruce Arians, like, they had brought up Tanner Hudson again the other day, and Bruce Arians said, well, first he has to make the team. I mean, it's just, I think his uphill battle. Real quick, do you think special teams coordinator Keith Armstrong is on the bubble? I don't think so. I don't see why he would be.
What, because of that PAT deal last week?
Yeah.
I know the coverage really is kind of lacking here and there too.
Yeah, I don't really think, I don't really see why he would be. It's not necessarily about like schemes or anything. It's just like they just don't have special teams aces anymore. Like,
yeah,
they don't have Josh Robinson anymore. They don't have Ryan Smith anymore. They don't have Anthony Auclair anymore. It just happens. They're trying. They tried to draft special teams player like KJ Britt and Chris Wilcox. Wilcox getting injured. Grant Stewart, but
Chris Wilcox should be back out there, by the way, for this game. And I mean, Keyshawn Vaughn has been getting special teams reps, and according to Bruce Arians, that's helping him out a lot, because it certainly doesn't seem like he's going to be getting those reps at running back anytime at all in the regular season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to get, barring it. Obviously, injuries change things. Injuries change everything, but barring any injuries, doesn't seem like you might see him catch a pass or two, because it seems like if they're going to use him, it's going to be more in like Giovanni needs a break type role.
Right.
But yeah, I don't really expect him to get too much action. So we'll see what happens. I do want to see Suckup attempt to kick. Still haven't seen that in the preseason.
Yeah.
Jose Borregales is breathing down his neck. I'm just kidding. I am, because Ryan Suckup has like $4 million guaranteed, so that's not happening. They're not cutting him unless he just goes out and misses every single kick. Then you have no choice. But I don't know if I brought this up on the last show, but I was like, of course, when the Bucs have like this random young kicker come out of nowhere who's an undrafted free agent, they didn't need to spend a draft pick on him at all, and he's finally good. It is the year that they don't need a kicker.
Right.
Like, of course it is. Like, and like, I'm like, of course, like Ryan Suckup will end up like being like okay this year, and then next year he'll suck and get cut, while Jose Borregales is off just kicking 90% every year, because that's the Bucs' luck when it comes to kickers. I was like, I could say whatever I want.
Bad vibes.
I can say whatever I want. Freedom of speech. This is America. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
Last time
I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
Last time I checked, I could say whatever I want, including that Noah Spence should still be on the roster. And that he's better than Shaq Barrett, basically.
Oh my God. I'm excited for that 21 sack season for Noah Spence coming up once he gets on the TB12 method.
Yeah, I mean,
new
come
franchise
on.
leader, right?
Yes, there's no reason why. Why not? I should say. Yeah, I just, of course, that's like the Bucs' luck. This random kicker just comes out of nowhere. He's good, but they don't really have any kicker issues. So they'll probably put Borregales on the practice squad, and there's probably a 90% chance that they'll lose him. So, like, I don't think Jose Borregales will be on the practice squad very long.
A lot of the hype around Borregales is that he has what it takes to be a kicker in the NFL. I mean, obviously, only time will tell. But like you said, if he ends up on the practice squad, he's probably going to be snatched up that week.
I mean, he's from Miami, and you know what everyone says. Kickers from the state of Florida, college kickers from the state of Florida are automatic. So, if you don't get that joke, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, okay.
if you don't get that joke, I don't know what to tell you. But
Rich said you're smoking that good weed today.
Everybody claims that I'm on the show here high as a kite.
You are. I've said it before. I said it like 2 weeks ago. You're the biggest toker I know. You show up to every podcast high as hell saying we should bring Noah Spence back because he's the best edge rusher in franchise history. Josh Rosen should be on this team full time. He's the future of the Bucs. Like, I mean, people don't have to grasp for straws here when it comes to you just being absolutely blitzed every single podcast.
Josh Rosen's better than Kyle Trask. How many passing touchdowns does Kyle Trask have?
In Josh the NFL?
Rosen, yeah. How many?
0.
Yeah, Josh Rosen has more than him. So
like 3?
Hey, let's not talk about that. All right.
Oh,
it's more than that. I think it's double digits. I think I got the double digits. Anyways, folks, the full disclaimer: I am not high. I am not.
Okay.
I don't know why Rhett knows that I'm literally knows that I'm not, and he keeps trying to play into it. I don't know why.
I genuinely don't know sometimes.
Okay, I guarantee you. But anyways, that's the end of the kicker discussion. I mean,
yeah, right.
I really just want to see, just make a kick. Just give me the confidence back. My confidence is still there and stuck up. I've been on record saying like I'm not worried. Like, like he had literally but 2 or 3 bad days in practice, and everybody thought the sky was falling. And then after that, he's been fine. Like there's been days where like he's missed kicks. Like, he missed a few kicks yesterday, but like one was from 50. Like I talked about anything inside 45, you got to make.
Training camp is for missing kicks too. I think that's important to mention.
Yeah, like who cares? They're not going to count. Nobody cares. So yeah. But other than that, it's a preseason game, man. You might see a little bit of Giovanni Bernard, maybe. A new guy trying to get acclimated with the offense. You'll see a lot of Keyshawn Vaughn. I think you're gonna see a lot of him.
Yeah, I think he's gonna dominate that first half. I don't know about dominate, but as far as carries go, he's gonna dominate the first half. He's gonna be getting 15 carries this game.
Dominates a little bit. Let's not forget who we're talking about. It's always fun because it's football, but it is a little bit of a bummer that the starters won't play. The upside is that it does sound like the starters are basically, I think the starters will probably get maybe the first half against Houston.
Right.
It sounds like Bruce is preparing to play them quite a bit.
And it sounds like an interesting way to approach things, because when we first tried to map out the preseason, we said, okay, you'll get some starters in week 1, won't be much, but they'll be out there. Week 2, you'll probably see the most of your starters. And then week 3, you'll probably see the least of your starters, if you see them at all. But that's not how Bruce is running things.
Yeah, it's a little strange to me. I'm not sure. Obviously, he knows more football than I do, so I'm going to trust him. But a little bit strange. I don't know. It's because he said it's because they have basically 2 weeks and then they play Dallas. Like, I get it.
Right.
But I don't know. Just that feels like that Texans game feels like basically the equivalent of the 4th preseason game. So, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to gauge. That's, how much you play your starters versus how much you don't. It's tough. Our buddy Rendex from the Pewtercast says, I'm instantly regretting my decision to click on this episode. Spence, Rosen, and kicker talk. Oh, yeah. I mean, trust me.
It's because Evan's kicker high. Talk. I told you guys. It's because Evan's high as a kite right now.
But actually, for the Spence and Rosen stuff, blame James, because he was the one that originally brought it up. It wasn't on our notes to talk about Noah Spence and Josh Rosen. So blame Mr. Bucs Nation, as he is the root of most of my problems.
Very true. Let's talk about one last position group before we start to wrap things up here. There's a lot of guys on the bubble in the secondary. A lot of people who I think eyes are going to be on. Javon Hagan is on that list. I think Javon Hagan was probably defensive player of the game last week. It kind of sucks that he gave away that interception. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't be defensive player of the game if you're doing that.
Exactly.
So in my mind, you can't earn that.
I'd like to see him get an interception this week and hang on to it and keep it. But I'd like to see Javon Hagan go out there with another strong showing. Herb Miller is on that list for the cornerback battle as well. Antonio Hamilton out there. A lot of eyes going to be on him. I think Antonio Hamilton is going to take that last corner spot. But are there any guys in that secondary in particular that you're taking a look at?
I mean, I am curious to see Antonio Hamilton. I'm curious to see D. Delaney too.
Yeah. D. Delaney had the pick last week that was called back.
It sounds like Bruce really likes him, so it'll be interesting to see. I think Antonio Hamilton's probably the best corner they got for that 5th job, but it seems like Bruce may see it a little bit differently. Obviously, Nate Brooks still in the mix there. But I mean, other than that, those are your 3 guys, I think, battling for that 5th corner. Although Ross Cockrell hasn't really played much corner at all in training camp, which is weird. Is he I think John Ledyard mentioned this. Like, he's got to ask Bruce, like, is Cockrell going back to corner or is he a safety now? As far as safety goes, you got Javon Hagan, I think is going to make the team. I think
he makes the team.
He did look good on Saturday against Cincinnati, and then he's put together some nice practices. Other than that, I mean, the status of Jordan Whitehead might change some things. It might. I'm not really sure, what his status is. He's not playing, obviously, on Saturday, and we'll see if he plays versus Houston. But at this point, I doubt it. I mean, he's missed a good chunk of camp, so at this point, I would doubt you see Whitehead really at all in this preseason. And the hope, I would assume, is to get him ready for Week 1 and as healthy as can be as Week 1. But they like Mike Edwards to fill that role too, so that's not a huge deal. But as far as just roster spots go, that might impact some guys' roles. I just think it's pretty cut and dry. I think Antonio Hamilton, when it's all said and done, is going to stand out the most. He has the most experience. Cameron Kinley's gone now, so that's one less name. You're starting to narrow down the list. I think at the end of the day, I think Antonio Hamilton is going to be the guy to sort of stand up and stand out. So, that pretty much wraps it up. I do have a take bag, but as far as the secondary goes, pretty cut and dry stuff. I really think we talked about Dean. I think Dean is going to play a little bit, just to reiterate that. I think he'll play a little bit. I don't think you're going to see him much. But yeah, I mean, the secondary is it's a concern because of how young it is. I think that's the only concern for me.
Right.
It's very young, and like, you're counting on those guys to make a jump, just like Carlton Davis made a jump from year 2 to year 3. If Carlton Davis doesn't make that jump, I'm not sure if the Bucs win the Super Bowl. Like, that's so important to have that corner that you can trust, right? And to put him up against, I understand Michael Thomas is a little bit injured, but put him up against Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas has 0 catches in a playoff game. That's huge. That's big. He held his own against Devontae Adams. That's big. Like, you need to win a Super Bowl. I think you need that one standout corner. You don't need 3 number 1 cornerbacks. Like, and anybody that knows me knows I think a good pass rush really covers up a bad secondary. And I'm not saying the Bucs secondary is bad. I'm just saying that they're still very young. That's all I'm saying. And I think they'll be good. I think they'll be fine. They have a lot of good young players, but at the end of the day, they still are young. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this season with that secondary.
And having a secondary that is as filled out as it is now. I mean, Antoine Winfield is obviously the best case scenario that you could have hoped for a rookie. But, like, when's the last time we've had this much trust in Tampa Bay's secondary? Like, even in 2013, when Darrelle Revis was here as a cornerback 1, I believe he made the Pro Bowl that year. And, like, that's great because he's Darrelle Revis. But after he left,
the no-fly zone, man. That was Revis, and then they signed Deshaun Goldson. That was
that was
big time. Didn't work, but that was big time.
After that departure, there has not been a single cornerback in Tampa Bay, aside from maybe like an Aqib Talib, who obviously went on to greener pastures.
Yeah, Aqib Talib. Yeah, that was Revis was after him even. So Aqib Talib was gone.
Right. So from Aqib Talib to Darrelle Revis, after that, tell me a corner that you can honestly remember being more than just a couple of flash plays on this defense. We have not had this much trust in the secondary in like 10 damn years.
Yeah, Brent Grimes was good. Like, he had for 2 years.
Yeah, but he was bitching that he wasn't getting paid enough to cover Antonio Brown.
Well, that was the last year,
right? Fuck that guy for all I care. Him and his loud ass wife.
Okay.
Right?
He was good.
Brent Grimes, CB1 on this team, I guess, is a sign of the times that we were in, because he was good,
right.
but he wasn't that good.
Yeah, sure. That's what I was gonna say, but like
I didn't mean to piss you off. I'm not mad at you. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I just, Brent Grimes, thinking about Brent Grimes and his fucking wife,
it really
just makes me
gets
so
on. Yeah, it really does. But then you had a lot of guys, and Altron Werner had his moments.
Yeah.
Jonathan Banks, even he had his moments. But other than that, you're right. I mean, you really are. You're struggling to find
just that guy you can trust full time.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that, like you said, have plays like, but at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, even you're talking about missing a starter right now, Jordan Whitehead, and like I have confidence in Mike Edwards. Like, I think Mike Edwards can. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Whitehead. I think right now Whitehead's the better player, but like I think Mike Edwards can do a fair job. I don't care what James says.
No, it's not James. It's our buddy Richard. The chat. He says, he says Grimes and Vernon Hargreaves, the shortest DB tandem of all time, also known as the all-fly zone. That's good. That's good. I like that. So, Evan, do we have a take back from you this week, my friend?
We do. We have two things.
Okay, perfect.
One is football, one is non-football. So Tyler Johnson, baby, he is back.
Yeah,
Tyler Johnson, TJ, just
that one-handed catch from that first day of practice.
Dominated the Titans. Dominated the Titans for 2 straight days. Right? I mean, dominated them. And, he's good. He's good. And I am ready to proclaim that he is the 4th wide receiver on the team. John later tweeted out that, like, Scotty Miller, like, not really anything Miller's done, but like, or I should say done wrong, but like Tyler Johnson's just been so good that like Scotty will still have his role, but like Tyler Johnson might end up as the 4th wide receiver.
Right. I mean, we've said it before. We'll say it again. Scotty Miller, as of right now, is a one-trick pony. Yeah. And as far as, athleticism goes, Tyler Johnson can't run as fast, but he can do everything else probably twice as good as Scotty. Right.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, and I would expect Tyler Johnson to be, well, everybody. I tweeted out the picture of Tyler Johnson's one-handed catch. It was taken by Joe Bucs fan, I believe. And I said, wide receiver 1, just doing wide receiver 1 things. And some people were like, oh, yeah, some people got it. But some people were like, are you kidding me?
Some people took it way too literally, right?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, calm down. Like, chill out. Okay, he's the wide receiver 1 in my heart. All right. If you guys have listened to this show long enough, Tyler Johnson's my guy.
Tyler Johnson, Noah Spence, Josh Rosen on the all Bucs franchise team for Evan, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much. And he's so good. He is so good, and I'm so happy that he's in Tampa, and I'm so happy that he's gonna get a shot. And like he'll play, I think, on Saturday. I think him, Darden, and Ed Miller will all play.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Darden again. I hope he gets some more reps at return.
So the only receivers I don't think you'll see are the top 3. I think the other ones you will see. So hopefully Kyle Trask can get some can get some work with those guys. So real quick before I move on to my next point, which is the non-football thing. G Vegas asked, I'm wondering when we can expect an extension for Davis. Bucs would be wise to lock him up long term. So yeah, Carlton Davis is a free agent after this season. I wouldn't expect a deal now. I wouldn't expect a deal during the season. A lot of people asked me that last season, all the Bucs trades. I was like, not going to happen. It didn't happen. Those are rare. Those are pretty rare to happen. So Carlton Davis, I'd be shocked if he went anywhere. Like we talked about, the Bucs have literally tried to find this type of corner for so long. I don't think Jason Lights is going to let him go.
No way.
I mean, Jason Light's gone through Altron Werner and the Vernon Hargreaves and Brent Grimes. All those players were brought in while Jason Light was here. He inherited Darrelle Revis, but then cut him. But then he signed Altron Werner, signed Brent Grimes, drafted Vernon Hargreaves. So like he's been waiting for a corner like this. I don't think they're going to let him go. I don't think it happens mid-season. I don't think it happens preseason, but he's not going to go anywhere.
It's going to happen the week of the boat parade, where we're going to have the same situation as last year. We're going to get a boat parade. Bruce and Jason Light are going to be sloshed up on the podium, and they're going to tell everybody on that stage, "Your ass ain't going nowhere.
You're going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere."
Well, but then they like say to like one player, like they come to like their senses or whatever. I don't know what player this will be, but they think about like the salary cap. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. You might be going somewhere.
You might have to go somewhere, but you'll get your ring shipped in the mail. Don't worry.
Yeah. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, right? A little bit of closing time. So my last thing here is a non-football thing. The funeral service for Mark Cook is today at 3 p.m. It's about 45 minutes away. It will be live streamed on the funeral home's Facebook page. I forget the funeral home's name. I'm sorry. You can find his obituary. It has the information there. They were able to reach on the GoFundMe, which I was happy to donate to, but unfortunately I'm not really a millionaire, so I couldn't help out too much, but anything helps. Literally anything helps. So I saw a lot of familiar faces that were donating. It was awesome to see.
They were short of their goal today.
I'm proud to announce they have hit their goal of 30,000. They have over $31,000 raised.
As of this morning, they were at about 25,000, and Nick Carter, very good friend of Mark Cook, dropped a $6,000 donation.
So there goes the take back. So yeah, I was gonna give a big thank you to Nick Carter of the Backstreet
I'm sorry,
Boys.
I didn't mean to beat you to the punch.
No, it's good. I was gonna give a shout out to Nick Carter of the Backstreet Boys, who was actually pretty good friends with Mark Cook. I'm not sure how the friendship started. It's pretty cool that it did start. But yeah, they were at around 24,000, and Nick Carter donated $6,000 to cover it and make sure that they reached their goal. And it's really good. And we've had some conversations with some people. It was the viewing was last night. It was a tough night for some people. Jason Light was there. Brian Ford was there. Mike Greenberg was there, and Nelson from the PR. I forget his
Luis.
I was gonna say Nelson Cruz, and I was like, no, that's not it. He plays for the Rays. So just really touching stuff, and no players were there, but that might have been, we talked, that might have been a little bit controlled with with everything,
some
with
restrictions
COVID.
in place.
Yeah, there might be some stuff, but just really touching, and them reaching that goal of $30,000 just shows you how much Mark was loved and appreciated by everybody in the community. So well done to everybody who donated anything you could donate. It was fantastic, like awesome. And specifically, Nick Carter, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Just fantastic to be able to do that for your friend is remarkable. And I just wanted to send out one more time my condolences to the entire Cook family. I know today is going to be a pretty tough day for them, and it's a tough day for a lot of people in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, it really is. But best news of the day was hearing that GoFundMe goal had been reached. So just like Evan said, man, huge thank you to anybody and everybody out there who helped make that happen. Helping the Cook family out is something that just shows how much Mark was appreciated. And I think Evan said everything perfectly. Everything I'm saying now is just a continuation of what he said, but you guys understand it. Mark Cook was a very valued member of this Bucs community, and he will be deeply missed. One more announcement before we wrap things up. Do you guys like giveaways? Right?
I do.
People like giveaways. I like giveaways.
Yeah.
So
I never win them, but I like them.
We have got a series of giveaways that we're going to be doing for the Cannon Fire Watch Party. If you don't have anything to do on November 14th, we got you covered. The Buccaneers are going to be playing the Washington football team that week, and we're going to be partying with our friends over at Berry House Brewery in the heart of Ybor City, literally right outside it. Like if you're walking on 7th Avenue, you can get to Berry House in 5 minutes. But a really great location, and I'm really excited to be working with those guys. Our guys at Wing Box Food Truck also going to be out there catering food for the party. Some of the best wings in Tampa Bay. Make sure you go check them out and come party with us. But we've also got some fun giveaways. I got some posters. Boom, 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 bang. I might have a couple.
I've not seen these. Folks.
Yeah, I know. This is new. This is new. It's actually the poster that's hanging up over my shoulder right there. Boom, boom, boom. And what these are, limited edition training camp posters. Maybe I'm giving them away because I got a couple of extra, or maybe I'd like you to believe that I have a connection inside the organization. Whatever story you like better.
I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah, right? We are going to be giving these away. It is a limited edition training camp poster. And I know that by the time November rolls around, training camp, who the hell cares? But it's a cool poster because it's limited. It's I think it's a 1 of 8,000 prints. So every single one is personalized. You'll see a different number depending on what you have. And you also have a signed certificate of authenticity, which I think you can see right there. Yes, you can, by Buccaneers COO Brian Ford, who, of course, you can't see his signature while it's rolled up in the paper. But, yeah, these are brand new, limited edition, and I got some extra. So why the hell not? Now my camera's all out of focus because I put the certificate up there, but it's all right. Show's almost over anyways, right? But we're going to be doing some fun giveaways. Now, the details for that, you're going to have to stay tuned. But if you like giveaways, definitely keep this one on your calendar because we're going to be doing some fun stuff. I think I might set up a registration link, add you to a list, and we'll do like a raffle the week before the show, or maybe the day of the watch party. Who knows? But if you guys are going to be there, you are more than eligible for these giveaways, and I'm very, very excited to announce that we're going to have some fun stuff in the mix. But yeah, that's the show, man. Evan's Take Bag, wrapping things up as always, our favorite new segment here on the show. And a quick little announcement about the Cannon Fire Watch Party. November 14th, 2021. Make sure you can be there. Doors open at 12. Game starts at 1. We're going to be hanging out till about 5 o'clock. So it should be a really, really fun one. We've got some confirmations from some friends of ours. We're not really going to disclose, but there are going to be some people there.
There's going to be some folks there.
Yeah, and maybe they'll help us do a podcast. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast, live today on YouTube for episode 196. I think our buddy Pete in the live chat said, did I miss the Trask talk? Yes, he did. If you want to rewind about 45 minutes, 40 minutes, we talked about Kyle Trask and his expectations for this Saturday's game.
Hey, I do it to Ren. That's pretty funny. I do it he says Evan should give away a sack of weeds to stay on brand.
There you go. Evan's Take Bag with free dime bags every single week here on the show. Thank you guys for being here.
I don't even know what that is, and you do. So.
Our buddy Rendax from the Pewtercast, Pete Payne from Bucs UK, Danny Roach, G Vegas, the moderator, holding it down. Our buddy Rich, Mr. Bucs Nation, and Rock813. If I missed anybody else, it's all right. We'll catch you in the next one. But thank you guys for being here. Yeah, that's the show. Make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. You can also check out Bucs news as it happens on my co-host Instagram at Bucs_daily. The #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram, rapidly approaching, 30,000 followers, right?
We're almost there. Yeah. I believe right now we're at 27.8K. So hoping to, let's shoot for 30K by the watch party. How about that? Yeah. By the watch party, let's have 30K.
I like it, man. Make sure you check him out on Instagram, and you can also find him on Twitter, where he gets high and tweets all the time at EvanNFL. You can also find myself, last but not least, on Instagram and Twitter at Redicus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. But yeah, man, that's the show. Preseason football is here. We are a little bit over halfway through it because we only have 3 games this year instead of 4. So after the second one, it's pretty much football time, folks. You're going to get Tom Brady and the starters in Game 3 against Houston. That is going to be one to talk about. And, of course, we'll keep you updated between now and then. But enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game on Saturday. No starters, but it is Buccaneer football, and I can never get too much of that. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline.AG. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish, and we will talk to you guys later. As always, go Bucs.